Sure. The current review, this is episode number 54 of the current review, live on Central News Live. You will find us live on all the channels on Facebook, on YouTube, on all the other digital platforms. Even if it's on Apple Podcasts, we are there. And today we have got the honor of being joined by the ANC Youth League in Gauteng. The ANC Youth League, has recently released a very powerful statement condemning the actions of prominent ANC officials involved in, corruption scandals, including their chief whip, Lesego Makubela, in the Gauteng Legislature, as well as the Deputy Speaker, Vuyo Mhlakaza Manamela. Our discussion will dive into these allegations, the ANC's handling of the situation, and what this means for Gauteng's future. So, as I said, joining us today in this interview will be the ANC Youth League, Khotso Powe, of the ANC Youth League in Gauteng. Good morning, Khotso. The ANC Youth League has taken a firm stance against corruption within the Gauteng legislature. Are you able to tell us more about why the league decided to release this statement at this time?
No, thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity granted to us. The statement itself is as a result of a decision that was taken by the ANC Youth League Gauteng PTT. When we released a statement on the 5th of July in 2024, where we took a decision and a stance that says that we are going to place strategic oversight of all departments, of all institutions of government, to guard against corruption and to ensure that there is efficient work that is actually being done to change the lives of the people of Gauteng. So this statement is as a result of that, to say that we have pledged our commitment as the ANC Youth League in Gauteng to say that we will not leave any stone unturned. Everybody that works for government, that works in a government institution, has to account for actions that they would have taken. So this is as a result of that. And the Youth League of Gauteng shows its commitment in that regard, to say there's nothing that we're going to turn a blind eye on, but we are going to make it a point that we ensure that everybody's held accountable.
And what allegations are you guys currently dealing with that involve some of your comrades?
The current allegations, if you go back to the statement, is quite clear. We want Comrade Lesego Makubela, who is the current chief whip of the legislature and the spokesperson of the ANC in Gauteng, and Comrade Vuyo Mhlakaza to account for the monies that they have received and have not yet paid back. If you receive money for a trip that you do not go to, and you do not return that money, that on its own raises a red flag. For us, it's a concern to say immediately you realize that I'm not going to undertake this trip to the US due to that my passport is still at the consulate, or due to ill health, like in the case of Comrade Vuyo. Immediately you had to request the banking details of the legislature and send back the money. Now, for the fact that you have used the money, it says to us there's something unethical about your actions, because it takes you 2 years for you to actually come back and say, I am prepared to pay back the money. There was no need for you to pay back the money if your conscience was clear enough to tell you that, let me return the money for the mere fact that I have not undertaken the trips. So really, this is a cause for concern. And the reason why we are strongly condemning this as the Youth League is to make it a point that there is no member of the ANC in any ANC deployment that is not going to do the correct thing. Everybody needs to act, and everybody needs to act correctly.
Yeah, because I was about to ask you that question as to, given that Lesego and Vuyo are both members of your political party, why would you not have taken the opportunity to engage them directly, privately, and say, hey, these comrades, these things here are actually dealing with the reputation of the ANC, deal with them now?
This thing of closed doors discussions at times does not make the impact that needs to happen. These comrades had 2 years, 2 full years to pay back that money, and did not. It is only when News 24 breaks the issue, although have misconstrued quite a number of facts regarding the whole entire matter, but for the mere fact that the matter is now in the public domain, then comrades want to say they are prepared and committed to pay back the money. Now, we made a public stance as the Youth League. It was public that we are going to fight corruption across board. It was public that we are not going to leave any stone unturned. And we are making it public that these particular comrades, we are holding them accountable, so that even society sees the importance of how the ANC is prepared to deal with issues of incorrect behavior from their own comrades. So it can't be that the public elects these comrades into the legislature, but the public cannot be brought into confidence when these comrades are doing wrong and they are called into order. So ours is to call these comrades to order and request that these comrades are held up to the higher moral standards of society.
But is it not the same thing with you as well, that when nobody else was talking about this and then the News 24 brings it up, yourselves now you also be seen raising your eyebrows only because somebody else has raised the issue before you?
It might not necessarily be that, but it could also be the fact that it was only brought to our attention by the fact that the matter is broken, because we were not aware of this matter, and it has come to our attention as News 24 breaks the matter, and the legislature also issues a statement to clarify. Now, what we also want to make categorically clear is that the comrades have admitted to their wrongdoing. For the mere fact that you are saying you are going to pay back the money, it says that you have received the funds, you have used the funds. So it's an admission of guilt. So what we then need to do now is say, how do we then move forward? How are we able to, as the ANC, hold these comrades accountable for their actions? They must account, there must be consequences for what they have done.
The DA has also called for the immediate resignation of those involved in these alleged corruption scandals. How do you, as the ANC Youth League, feel about the DA's position on this matter? And what are your thoughts on the political implications this could have for the ANC ahead of the 2026 elections?
I would not want to dwell much on the Democratic Alliance. And honestly, on the basis that the DA sees this as a political advantage for them to advance whatever narrative that they want to advance. The ANC has its own internal processes that need to be followed. It cannot be that the Democratic Alliance would want to come to the ANC and then dictate what needs to happen. Remember, these people are deployees of the ANC, and they account to one center of power, which is the African National Congress. So whatever the DA feels that they want to happen is not going to happen under the basis of that this is what they have said. The ANC will take a decision in the best interest of the organization and will discipline these comrades accordingly to what the constitution of the ANC would have deemed necessary. There's an integrity commission that is in place, and an integrity commission where we as the Youth League still believe that these comrades need to present themselves and account for their actions. Out of what the integrity commission would have then recommended to the NEC would then tell us what the action needs to be. It can't be that we are going to act on the basis that the DA is having us under a barrel of a gun. We're not going to do that. The Democratic Alliance has failed themselves to deal with their own internal matters where they've employed people that have not qualified into position of strategic influence. They have done quite a number of things. They have not accounted for some of the malfeasance that has happened in the Western Cape. So it can't be us telling the DA how to do their things in terms of their internal processes. And we will expect them to respect that in that manner, to allow the ANC to do what the ANC feels is correct towards its own members.
Is it not true, though, that though the members of the ANC and deployed in that legislature by the ANC themselves, but they also account to the public because they are members of the legislature which represents the people and not necessarily the political party?
No, I agree with you. Yes, that's how it works. But what we also need not forget is the fact that they are there elected by the public under the banner of the ANC. It's the ANC that has finalized its list. It's the ANC that submitted the list to the IEC. So these comrades in question account to the ANC as much as they account to the public. So it is the ANC that needs to take the decision. Remember, the ANC believes in one center of power. The ANC in government still accounts to the ANC as the organization, as they are direct deployees of the ANC into government. So they do not only represent society, but their standards need to be in line with the principles, the practices, the policies of the ANC, which they are then entrusted to implement through the government processes. So the ANC remains the center of power, and it's the ANC that has the power to then react and deal with this matter. But that's why, as the Youth League in Gauteng, call on the ANC to actually take action so that even society sees that the ANC means business when it talks to renewal, and the ANC means business in terms of fighting corruption holistically.
Yeah, besides them having to pay back the money, what other action are you calling for? You know, what is it that the ANC must do in order to, you know, to make these comrades account for what they have done?
The ANC, in terms of its constitution, Rule 24.2, it is clear. The ANC has established an integrity commission. And the integrity commission also needs to deal with matters of unethical and immoral behavior. So we believe that these comrades need to present themselves in front of the integrity commission, and the integrity commission needs to make recommendations. And from there, we will then take it from there, because it is then an unfolding of a sequence of events that needs to happen in that regard.
You have said to me now that both of these comrades have admitted that they've done wrong and therefore they're going to pay back the money. So that is an admission of guilt, if I may put it that way. What action needs to be taken against them?
There's a disciplinary process. If you go to the constitution of the ANC, in terms of Rule 25.17.4, it talks to the misconduct of members of the ANC that are deployed in terms of government. Rule 25 holistically speaks towards the discipline, what constitutes a misconduct. And the ANC, after appearing before the Integrity Commission, in line with what the constitution of the ANC says, then these comrades need to be charged. They need to appear before the disciplinary committee and the sanction. We can rather lobby the ANC to say, as a matter of public interest and as a matter of the integrity
there in Gauteng has been seen speaking PTT of the Youth League there in Gauteng. Is this not perhaps a hit back for you as the ANC Youth League in Gauteng that, yes,
No, we do not stoop that low. Remember, we represent a constituency. It can never be personal with Comrade Lesego. We always need to rise above all personal issues. And because we've got a responsibility to lead an organization, we've got a responsibility to lead society. We've got a responsibility to lead society. Now, the misconduct or the unethical behavior by any comrade of the ANC, irrespective of who you are, it's just unfortunate that it's Comrade Lesego now, and people would want to thumbsuck a theory that says that the Youth League is hitting back because of views that Comrade Lesego has. In fact, for a mere fact, the ANC Youth League and leaders of the ANC Youth League in Gauteng have engaged Comrade Lesego on quite a number of differences that we might have had. But in terms of this one, it is us executing a responsibility and a pledge that we made on the 5th of July 2024. So there's nothing personal about it. We will never be personal with anyone. But what we want to do is bring back the ANC to the high moral stature of its nature, where society believes in an ANC that is ethical, an ANC that is transparent, an ANC that represents the interests of society. So that is us. That is what renewal is all about. In fact, when we attended the workshop at Bedford Hotel, which was conducted, and if you've heard of the input that were made by Comrade Tamombeg, who is the president of the ANC, it is clear on what needs to happen in terms of the renewal process. What we also need to deal with, as much as there might be external forces that look and work hard to destroy the ANC, but the ANC needs to self-reflect. The ANC needs to self-correct. The ANC needs to hold people accountable and return to its moral fiber. So we're bringing back the moral fiber of the ANC. As a Youth League in Gauteng, we refuse to inherit an ANC that is engulfed by corruption scandals. And we want to make it clear that we are not going to defend anyone that has been accused of corruption and there is actual evidence that says this person has done misconduct.
And as far as you know, what is the status of the investigations around these things that have happened there in the legislature?
At this point in our statement, we have called for that In the case there is that report, let that report be made public knowledge so that we can then go through the report. But what we also need to caution society on is to believe without actually getting the facts correct. Poor journalism is destroying the fraternity of journalism, because in terms of what the legislature is saying is that some of the issues that are outlined there are incorrect. So we would want to get a clear perspective, factual perspective, before we would actually take a stance as a PTT. So in terms of what the outlook might be at this point, we will also expect the legislature to institute internal processes. They have committed to paying back the money, and we would want to know that and see that these comrades have paid back the money. This is public funds and they must pay it back. And the legislature needs to come back to the public as they have come to the public to say they have said they will pay back the money, and tell us if the money has been paid up.
And in respect of the renewal project, your statement refers to the ANC's commitment to renewal and the fight against corruption. Do you think these corruption scandals within the legislature are a reflection of the broader systemic issues within the ANC, and what steps therefore should be taken to address these kind of things?
Where there's a system in place, it is always open to have areas. There will be loopholes. And allow me to agree with you to say, to a certain extent, what has transpired might be as a result of some of the systematic problems that are there. Now, this on its own does not say, let us throw out the water with the child. But it says to us, let us go back and revisit some of the policies that are in place so that we ensure that such actions do not happen again. Remember, we are a growing democracy. We are bound to have mistakes. We are bound to have oversight on quite a number of things. But this presents an opportunity to the Gauteng legislature, the Speaker of the legislature, the legislature secretary, in fact, the political management of the legislature, to review some of these systems that are in place to ensure that such things do not happen again. We might find that it's not only them. They might be exposed now, but this has been happening for quite some time. If we go back, probably even within the DA itself, there are people that might have taken money for a trip that they have not gone to. We would not know. But at this point, it presents an opportunity to the legislature to say, let the legislature find ways to make it a point that this thing does never happens again. So it has presented them with that opportunity.
And public trust in government institutions is at an all-time low, really. How can the legislature of Gauteng regain the confidence of the people amidst these kind of issues that you guys are facing with?
We can't run away from the primary function of the legislature. The legislature is a legislative component, which is an integral part of our democracy, where laws are passed and laws that are supposed to be in the best interest of society. But it's not only limited to that. The legislature also has a responsibility to hold the executive accountable through oversight committees and through other methods of ensuring. In fact, it also has a function of receiving petitions. Now, for the legislature to gain societal confidence, it needs to amplify its work. It needs to ensure that out of the work that it's done by the legislature, it can resonate with society. Society can feel, society can touch what the legislature is doing. When laws are passed, laws must be passed in ensuring that it changes the lives of the people to better. Because currently, the situation of Gauteng, the ANC having dropped to 34%, it's an indicator to say society on its own needs to regain confidence in us. And for us having deployees in government, for us having deployees in the legislature, they need to ensure that the manifesto of the ANC with all its progressive policies need to be implemented. And fortunately, at this point, I can gladly say that we are working quite closely with the ANC in the Gauteng province to ensure that those that are deployed in government do actually implement. And where we see that there's something wrong that is happening, we will call it out and we will hold people accountable. So if you can't work, you must leave the space.
To these things, what has been the ANC's response to these allegations at the moment?
I can't speak on behalf of the ANC, so we'd have to wait for the ANC to speak for itself and the ANC. But we do have open lines to engage the ANC. We are a youth league of the ANC as much as we have our autonomy and we've got the right to speak our minds, but we also have an open engagement process with the ANC. The ANC can engage us at any given time, and we will be able to still raise these matters and would want the ANC to act on them.
As much as you can't speak on behalf of the ANC, what you are saying is that the ANC has not said anything on these things at the moment.
At this point, we haven't seen a statement from the ANC that talks to this matter. So it's probably an issue of them engaging amongst themselves in the PC or the POB, but we will wait for them to speak. But we're prepared to engage the ANC on this matter at hand. Even the comrades in question, we are prepared to engage them and engage them further on these actions.
And in conclusion, what message would you like the people of Gauteng, in particular the voters there, and the young people who follow you as the ANC Youth League, what message must they get out of your statement and the actions that you are taking?
In conclusion, what I would want to say to young people of Gauteng in particular, your youth league is back. Your youth league is alive. And your youth league is here to represent them and their interests. The youth league's establishment had twin tasks, which was to rally young people behind the banner of the ANC, but also fundamentally is to champion their interests. And that is why we're here. We are going to ensure that we've got an ANC that also considers the interests of young people. We will mobilize young people from every corner of Gauteng to ensure that we also represent their interests through them and engaging them. We are prepared to engage all sectoral aspects of the youth formations so that we have a conclusive approach towards fighting the scourge of young people in society, be it drugs, be it gender-based violence, be it unemployment. We are ready to fight together. The Youth League is currently preparing itself for the mother of all marches that is going to be taking place, going to the JSE. We want to go there, represent the interests of young people, and ensure that that bank, the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, does what is right towards the interest of society and the broader Gauteng province. Thank you.
We hope to bring you for an interview talking about that particular march and its objectives another time. But tell me, before you go, when is the conference for the ANC Youth League in Gauteng?
We are planning to go to Congress in November. Processes are underway. The roadmap is out. Branches have been given the deadline in terms of recruitment and everything. So there's a process that needs to unfold now. After branch submissions, there's an audit process that must happen. We must ensure that the logistics are in place. We must deal with all disputes objectively and ensure that we've got a credible Congress. So the ANC Youth League, in fact, we are going to sit the provincial Congress first before all other regions, because we want to make it a point that the province has the mandate that would be given to it by its people, by its branches. Because as an interim structure, as much as we've got full executive authority, but we have a responsibility, one, to take this ANC Youth League in Gauteng to Congress. And we are definitely going to do that in November.
Thank you very much, Khotso Powe, the ANC Youth League representative in Gauteng, talking about the corruption scandals that have rocked the Gauteng legislature, as well as now talking to us about the conference, which will be held sometime in November. Thank you very much, Khotso, and all the best with all your endeavors.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity. Looking forward to our next engagement.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be back with another one. And